I have one quick announcement before we get started with the service, and that is that next week is not just a finger food, it's any kind of a potluck dinner or meal you want to bring, any kind of an offering. So, it is not by chance that you arrived here today. You have been looking for something larger than yourself. Inside of you, there is a yearning, a calling, a hope for more, a desire for a place of belonging and caring. Through your struggles, someone nurtured you into being, instilling a belief in a shared purpose, a common yet precious resource that belongs to all of us when we share. And so you begin seeking a beloved community, a people that does not put fences around love, a community that holds its arms open to possibilities of love, a heart home to nourish your soul and share your gifts. Welcome home. Welcome to worship. This morning, you are invited not to stand in body or spirit for our chalice lighting and spoken affirmation. Reverend Amy Zucker Morgenstern offers these words: within the heart of the flower, the fountain of beauty. Within the heart of community, a fire that warms and dances. Within the heart of each of us, a spark of the Spirit of life. Holy, holy, holy. Please join me in our spoken affirmation. The words, should you need them, are in the morning program. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth and freedom, and to help one another. We begin with these words for our opening thought today. We come in a variety of colors, shapes, and sizes. Some of us grow in bunches. We're going to see some of those flowers. Some of us grow alone. Some of us are cupped inward, and some of us spread ourselves out wide. Some of us are old and dried and tougher than we appear. Some of us are still in bud. Some of us grow low to the ground, and some of us stretch towards the sun. Some of us feel like weeds sometimes. Some of us carry seeds sometimes. Some of us are prickly sometimes. Some of us smell. All of us are beautiful. What a bouquet of people we are. Today is Mother's Day, and the Sunday we selected to have flower communion, which is a uniquely Unitarian Universalist ritual. We each have a flower. Perhaps you brought one that had personal significance for you. So perhaps you didn't bring one, and we have one in front of our stand here that you can help yourself to. And we will be helping the people on Zoom by putting in a flower for them as well. We bring the flowers forward and we place them in the vase. And we have two vases because there's an awful lot of long-stemmed flowers, but there's also some short-stemmed flowers. So the smaller vase is for those that are short-stemmed. Later, we will each come and take a flower other than the one you brought. While we listen to a song written by Norbert Chopin, the Unitarian minister who created the flower communion, you are invited to listen to the song, and when moved to do so, come and place your flower in the vase. For those of you worshiping with us on Zoom, excuse me, we will add a flower for each of you.
Color and fragrance, magic or rhythm, sweet changing music will change us with
This flower is for Darlene.
life within life, inner light gently glowing. Surely you seem to be God's vision growing. Oh, starry heavens, worlds of all splendor, suns without number.
This one is for Michelle.
New life engender, wheel in a wheel with the light brightly glowing, moving in harmony, God's vision growing, and full of pebbles, high mountain passes, depths of the ocean, dew on the grasses, great things and small, with the light gently glowing, word of the wordless song, God's vision growing. Delicate beings, lace wing and sparrow, in field and forest, clover and yarrow, life greeting life with the light brightly glowing. None are too small to be God's vision growing. In human eyes burns the soul of living, illumines altars of loving giving. Beating we meet, seeing light brightly glowing, share in a greater life.
I have here one for Cindy and one for Joe.
Shaper of all things, to us you've given a chance to keep here on earth a heaven, moving in harmony, light gently glowing. May we be gratefully God's vision growing.
I also put in a flower for Doug, even though he's not with us this morning yet. Flower Communion by Reverend Lynn Unger. What a gathering. The purple tongues of iris licking out. At spikes of lupine, the orange crepe skirts of poppies lifting over buttercup and daisy. Who can be grim in the face of such abundance? There is nothing to compare, no need for beauty to compete. The voluptuous rhododendron and the plain grass are equally filled with themselves, equally declare the miracles of color and form. This is what community looks like. This vibrant jostle, stem by stem, declaring the marvelous joining. This is the face of communion. The incarnation once more, gracefully resurrected from winter. Hold these things together in your sight. Purple and crimson, magenta, blue. You will be feasting on this long after the flowers are gone. You've probably noticed we've rearranged some things today to accommodate flower communion. We've not forgotten the importance of having a time for anyone who wishes to come and light a candle. So that time is now, and it is also this time that we are all invited to bring our gifts to the table while we hear the Kipsep UU Fellowship from Bremerton, Washington sing, "Spring Has Now Unwrapped the Flowers."
Spring has now unwrapped the flowers, day is fast reviving, life in all her growing powers, toward the light is striving. bursting forth in green and gold glory in its splendor. Herb and plant that winter long slumbered at their leisure, now be stirring green and strong, find in growth their pleasure. All the world with beauty fills, gold the green enhancing. Flowers make glee among the hills, at the meadows dancing.
We have one more contribution to Flower Communion, if you want to bring it forward now.
The original Mother's Day proclamation was written by Julia Ward Howe in recognition of the suffering of the mothers whose sons were killed or maimed in the Civil War. Arise then, women of this day. Arise, all women who have hearts, whether our baptism be of water or tears. Say firmly, we will not have great questions decided by irrelevant agencies. Our husbands will not come to us reeking with carnage for caresses and applause. Our sons shall not be taken from us to unlearn all that we have been able to teach them of charity, mercy, and patience. We, the women of one country, will be too tender to those of another country to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs. From the bosom of the devastated earth, a voice goes up with our own. It says, disarm, disarm. The sword of murder is not the balance of justice. Blood does not wipe out dishonor, nor violence indicate possession. As men have often forsaken the plow and the anvil at the summons of war, let women now leave all that may be left of home for a great and earnest day of council. Let them meet first as women, to bewail and commemorate the dead. Let them solemnly take counsel with each other as to the means whereby the great human family can live in peace, and each bearing after her own time the sacred impress, not of Caesar, but of God.
Faith of our mothers living still, in spite of dungeons, fire, and sword. Oh, how our hearts beat high with joy whene'er we hear that glorious word. Faith of our mothers, holy faith, we will be true to thee to death. Faith of our mothers, we will strive to win all nations unto thee, and through the truth that comes from God, we all shall then be truly free. Faith of our mothers, holy faith, will be true to thee to death.
Every mother has a different story, though we tend to group them together. We like to think that partnered moms have it good and single moms have it rough, but the truth is that we're a diverse bunch. Some single mothers have lots of child-free time because their kids are regularly in the custody of their fathers. Some seldom get a break. Some partnered mothers split childcare duties with their spouses in egalitarian ways. Others might as well be alone. Some mothers of both varieties have parents, siblings, and friends who play active roles in their children's lives in ways that significantly lighten the load. Others have to pay for every hour another person looks after their kids. Some mothers, single or partnered, can't afford to pay anyone for anything. Some can and do. Others can and won't. Some are aided financially by parents or trust funds or inheritances. Others are entirely on their own. The reality is, regardless of the circumstances, most moms are alternately blissed out by their love for their children and utterly overwhelmed by the spectacular amount of sacrifice they require. The poem Surplus Mothers is by Tekohe. There are so many of them, you see, married, single, widowed, foster, or step, and the mother bar is set so high that they put quite a few of us away. There is no way to avoid the clearing unless you don't join in at all, for once you do, you're in for life, hoping the gavel never falls. But it seems my time has come for the judgment of it all that was or wasn't done without an advocate to summon. But I remember Khalil Gibran, that children are not possessions, to see or think as parents want. I recall at the defendant's table. The judgment came in guilty, and I abandoned any excuses. I could not do more than I knew. What I knew was just so little. There is no jail or prison time for the mothers that are condemned. We are ignored and resented, surplus mothers to those we raised. Some children have an opening for a mother where they have none, are in need of a grandmother to read and laugh with their kids. Let the surplus mothers find others who need the little they have, a little love, a little knowledge. What is not owed is more appreciated. Mother's Day was originally founded as an anti-war rallying cry by Unitarian Julia Ward Howe. Mother's Day can be more than a day for flowers and pancakes. With Mama's Day, we hear a call to honor all those who mother, especially those who bear the brunt of hurtful policies or who are weighed down by stigma in our culture. We celebrate trans mamas, immigrant mamas, single mamas, lesbian mamas, young mamas, poor mamas, and all the others. It's opportunity to take action to create the conditions so that all families can thrive. Strong Families is a national initiative of which the Unitarian Universalist Association is a part to change policy and culture in support of all families. Using poetry, an original line of beautiful e-cards, a blog series sharing the hopes, dreams, and needs of mamas, and opportunities to take action on critical policy issues, all created primarily by women of color. Mama's Day is a rallying cry for justice. It is no surprise to learn that Unitarian Universalists are involved with the Strong Families Initiate. The image on the cover of this morning's program is one of this year's beautiful e-cards from Mama's Day, Our Way. Our practice for today is a meditation called A Bouquet of People by Claire Feingold-Thorne. Let us give thanks for a bouquet of people. We give thanks for children. Like tulips and iris, they multiply around us, making the world ever more filled with color, beauty, and new life. May we bless them as they replant themselves ever further from us, knowing that they need their own space to grow. We give thanks for generous friends, as constant in bloom as echinacea, and whose gifts lift up our body and spirit. We give thanks for feisty friends, as indomitable as geraniums, and for continuous friends who, like bittersweet and ivy, hold on and never let go, and can never be gotten rid of. For crotchety friends, as prickly as rose bushes, their beauty a secret that only is discovered through careful gardening. For surprising friends, who at first glance seem dour and then blossom into joy as quickly as forsythia. For funny friends, silly as snapdragons, and serious friends, complex as chrysanthemums. For comfortable friends, their gentle presence as soothing as the sweet smell of lilacs. For stormy weather friends who stand by us in hard times, like lily of the valley that cannot be deterred by shade or shadow. For old friends, nodding like sunflowers in the evening time, and young friends coming on fast as flocks. For friends as unpretentious as dogwood, as persistent as pachysandra, as steadfast as azalea, and who, like snowdrops, can be counted on to see you through the winter and remind you that spring always comes. For loving friends who wind around us like wisteria and embrace us despite our blights, wilts, and witherings. And finally, for forget-me-not friends, gone but never forgotten, their beauty lives on in our memories and hearts. For this bouquet of people who brighten our lives, each in their own way, we give thanks. Let us pause for a time of personal reflection.
For flowers that bloom about our feet, for tender grass so fresh and sweet, for song of bird and hum of bee, for all things fair we hear or see. Giver of all, we thank thee. For blue of stream and blue of sky, for pleasant shade of branches high, for fragrant
The story of Norbert Chopin's flower communion. His mother was a devout Catholic, his father agnostic. He became an acolyte at age 10 in 1890 at St. Martin's Catholic Church. In the years that followed, he became disillusioned, his priest a cynic. At 18, apprenticed to his uncle, a successful tailor in Vienna, Norbert discovered the Baptists and became a minister. He founded almost a dozen churches from Ukraine to Budapest. Yet, slowly, his faith became more and more liberal. He left Bohemia under government threat and accepted a call to serve a Baptist church in New York City, until one day in 1919. That day, he wrote in his diary, "I cannot be a Baptist anymore, even in compromise. The fire of new desires, new worlds, is burning within me." Norbert and his wife, Maja Chopin, joined a Unitarian church in New Jersey in 1921. For the same reason a whole lot of you did. Their children liked the religious education program. That's the power of our Sunday school teachers. Kids, that's your power too. World War I ended. His home country now independent. He and Maja returned home to Czechoslovakia. His Unitarian church was the Prague Liberal Religious Fellowship. In just 20 years, his church had 3,200 members. The traditional Christian communion service of bread and wine wouldn't meet the needs of his congregation because his church, like ours, had people who believed different things. Chopin turned to the beauty of the countryside, the beauty of flowers. In 1923, he developed the flower ceremony. He asked his congregants to bring a flower to church from their gardens, from the field, or the roadside. He invited each person to place their flower in a vase. There was the church community no less unique for being united. Following the service, each person could take a flower from the vase, a different one than they had brought. Chopin was a visionary minister with a church ahead of its time, a bold church, a church thinking beyond its doors, beyond what it thought was possible. It was a church that was willing to take risks, to make tough decisions, to bear disappointment, and to build a new way. The first by building a church, and that church could build up the world. That is our church. That was within our hands. We hold the resurrection of the world. Transient and imperfect, these blossoms are still gifts of infinite value, like ourselves. Too often we seek permanence and perfection. Resisting change, blind to our shortcomings, we become caught up in petty issues and routine activities of our daily lives. But may these flowers serve as a reminder as they allow themselves to open to the heavens. For despite their imperfections, they still have integrity. And though they are transient, they contain the seeds of transcendence, like ourselves. Let us then also open ourselves to mystery and wonder, fretting not about small mishaps or even, for now, great misfortune. For the resurrection of the world is at our fingertips. The resurrection lies within us. Let us keep a moment of silent appreciation together. And now, blessing for flower communion by the Reverend Michael DeVernon Boblet. Blessed be the flower that triumphs at last over the snows, over the centuries, over the heavy feet of cattle and soldiers treading down the fragile places of the earth. Blessed be the flower that triumphs at last over the tangled branches, over the withered stem, over the tearing thorns of roses and of barbed wire. Blessed be the flower that triumphs at last, even over the hand that gathers it, cuts it off from life, from roots, from the memory and taste of iron and tears in the soil. Blessed be the flower that triumphs at last over the closed rooms that are not its home, over efforts to domesticate its wild truth, over the vain words of priests and poets. Blessed be the flower that triumphs at last over us, over pasts and futures, over words and silences, over deaths and lives, placing them all in their proper place, restoring to all things their joyful smallness. Blessed be the flower that triumphs at last. The last part of the flower communion, as Norbert Chopin explains, is for each of us to come and take a flower. The song Rising Green was composed by Carolyn McDade. We'll be playing while we select our flower. For those of you who join us remotely, we will select a flower for each of you and hold them up for you to enjoy.
My blood doth rise in the roots of yon oak, her sap doth run in my veins. Boundless my soul, like the open sky, where the stars
I
forever.
have 2 roses here for Darlene and Michelle, and I have an iris for Cindy, and a whatever this is, Dahlia, Mom, for Joe.
Of time without end, my sight as deep as the sea, beating my heart tells the measures of all that of love's eternity. That of love, that of love, that of love's eternity. I feel the tides as they answer the moon, rushing on a far distant sand. Winging my song is the wind at my breast, and my love blows over the land. And my love, and my love, and my love blows over the land. My foot carries days of the old into new. Our dreaming shows us the way. Wondrous our faith settles deep in the earth, rising green to bring a new day. Rising green, rising green, rising green to bring a new day.
Within our hands we hold the resurrection of the world, transient and imperfect, These blossoms are still gifts of infinite value, like ourselves. Too often we seek permanence and perfection, resisting change, blind to our shortcomings. We become caught up in the petty issues and routine activities of our daily lives. But may these flowers serve as a reminder, as they allow themselves to open to the heavens, for despite their imperfections, they still have integrity. And though they are transient, they contain the seeds of transcendence, like ourselves. Let us then also open ourselves to mystery and wonder, fretting not about small mishaps or even, for now, great misfortune. For the resurrection of the world is at our fingertips. The resurrection lies within us. Let us keep a moment of silent appreciation together. Hear now the words of benediction that Reverend Chopin used at the first flower communion. Infinite Spirit of life, we ask thy blessing on these, thy messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us, amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts, to be one in desire and affection, and devotion to thy holy will. May they also remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as one of thy most precious gifts. May we not let awareness of another's talents discourage us or sully our relationship. And may we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to do thy work in this world. Please join me in extinguishing the chalice. The words, should you need them, are in the morning program. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.